I was actually scared watching this movie. Like, I do not get scared watching these movies, and I'm in a hotel room for work right now, and I was actually scared because watching this by myself. Like, oh my god, something bad's going to happen.
You wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, was that my sleep apnea or the moaner? I can't tell.
Yeah,
and you're fucking horrified. Friends, welcome back to the Messed Up Movies Podcast, a podcast celebrating movies and filmmakers that embrace the unhinged, the insane, the outrageous, the off-kilter, and the all-around kind of messed up fun you can't take your eyes off of. I'm your host, Griffey, sounding like a gravel pit this morning, as the Wu-Tang Clan once said, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and how most people refer to him as the moaner,
Alex Dandino. Hope you guys are doing well.
The moaner boater. Yeah.
Do you like social media? We have all social medias. If you look us up, we are on misfitparade.net, soon to be.com probably. All the socials you're on, we are on. We post all kinds of fun stuff all the time. Clips from movies we have discussed in the past, all kinds of cool stuff, reels, TikToks, all the good stuff.
Lots of great stuff going on over there. Yeah, find us wherever you find. Sorry, I was doing a Hulk Hogan, preach it to the crowd, brother. That's more for the YouTube audience. You can find us on YouTube at Misfit Parade. Our short film, Sugar Tits, is live. Our holiday horror film, Guide My Sleigh, also live. We'd love to see you there. Sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to interrupt you with old 1980s wrestling moments. But yeah, that's cool.
That's cool. My flow is interrupted.
Sorry, Mom Spaghetti. Make sure you rate the show wherever you find podcasts. Misfitparade.net. All the good things. The most important thing, go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon to support the show, to help grow the show. This is where we need you the most. We appreciate it. Lots of fun stuff over there. We actually are coming up with some new miniseries now. It's going to be a blast. We should start here. Merry Christmas to the Messed Up Movies Podcast universe. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I hope you're having a better holiday than every single person we see. Maybe not Nash. Everyone but Nash. I wish Nash no love. In the 1974 classic Black Christmas, directed by Bob Clark. Alex.
Yes.
This is a time of thanks, right? We've transitioned the podcast. We're doing lots of fun stuff. Why Black Christmas for this year especially?
This year especially? I mean, Black Christmas is a fascinating horror movie to me. It takes a holiday that absolutely nobody asked to be horrific or sad or troubling. They're like, hey, you know what we should do? Those things. Let's do those
things. Yeah. I will tell you this. I've never been a huge fan of this movie. We were thinking about it, like what holiday movie to do. I rewatched it. It fucking really got to me this time. This movie, there is like a real like evil darkness at the core of this movie that I appreciated this time.
Yeah, I did want to say at the top here, this is one, like, we've watched so many fucking movies for this show and the last show and the show before it. Like, we have so much content on the internet of the movies we've watched. This has to be the first time I've watched a movie and got a little creeped out. Like, I do not get freaked out by the movies we watch. And like, you know, I stated on Film Alchemist, I was never a big horror movie guy. I only became that because we started hanging out and we started watching movies like this. This actually scared me a little bit. Like, I was uncomfortable waking up this morning and like running to the bathroom.
There's like real world disgustingness. To me, I would say this is like Yuletide Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The other thing it has, because Texas Chainsaw is this misnomer, right? That it is this like graphic slaughterhouse movie. You see almost no actual massacring in that film.
Right, right.
This one's kind of the same. The kills are not insanely graphic. I don't think there's a ton of blood and guts, but the moments of like playing with your food after, the enjoying the calls into like, this guy's working some shit out. There's like real scary actual things in this movie. I want to start here. Bob Clark has one of the most fascinating director filmographies, I think, of any director we've kind of looked into for this. So the funny thing right off the bat for this is that Bob Clark has 2 Christmas classics to his belt that are polar opposites.
You
this
fucking
one,
douchebag.
Black Christmas, how dare you? Don't hate the game, hate the player. Or strike that, reverse it.
That's exactly
That's
what
what
I'm
you
doing.
did. Don't do that. Damn. I DJ Khaled myself. Another one. No, okay. And then 10 years later comes back with the movie that every kid in Indiana for sure has had to watch every Christmas,
And
like
Cleveland.
5 times.
And Cleveland, for that matter.
Yeah, just a very Midwestern vibe. Like all of our parents love A Christmas Story with Ralphie. You'll shoot your eye out. And this one, he is the moaner because he does shoot his eye out, in fact. So Bob Clark, not only that, but he has some really funny ones on here if you go. He did Baby Geniuses, for those of you who remember Baby Geniuses.
Yes, he did.
He's just got some really fascinating movies.
He didn't do
on
Baby Geniuses. He did the sequel to Baby Geniuses.
No, he did Baby Geniuses as well. He did 2 Baby Geniuses in a row. Then he came in and did Super Babies. Or no, he did Baby Geniuses and then Baby Geniuses 2 Super Babies. Right? He also did one called Karate Dog. So it's kind of a sad place to end the career where he's just doing like made-for-TV horrifying children's movies. He did Porky's, which was a big one.
He did Porky's and Porky's too.
But the 2 Christmas movies I think are fascinating. So Alex, I think this is a great place to kind of start, right? I wanted to just start in general with the Christmas horror genre, right? I am a huge fan of this. And I think Bob Clark having done 2 of these movies is so fascinating. Because when you watch A Christmas Story, I do think, even though I'm fucking sick to death of that movie, I'm sick of it. I never want to watch it again. I just watched it with my kids for the first time and they loved it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it is a good movie. I'm over it. I do think that movie might best encapsulate like the Christmas vibe to me about like kind of the underlying stresses of the season. And then punctuated with these moments of like, wow, it's beautiful and it's snowing and family and whatever. Why do you think Christmas has become such a ripe holiday for horror films to attack?
Well, for me, I think it's the polar. It's the
what is
opposition.
it? What is it?
No, stop.
The polar
opposite. It's the polar opposite. That's not the right way to say it, though. I think what it is this time of year is very specific of like, oh, the joy of giving and the joy and the love and the things that we like about this holiday make us feel warm inside. I think the opportunity to invert that is so vicious and so
ripe with sacrilege. Yes, it is an inherently like religious holiday too, so you get to attack it on that front. Think of this, though. What is one of the favorite things everyone likes at Christmas, right? Christmas lights. You drive out, you see it, you go carol. What are we doing? We are traipsing through the dark, freezing night, like when our ancestors would have dropped dead. So it's these shiny little bright, like beckoning moments of joy, and it's all good amidst like the darkest, most ferocious time of the year.
You know, the other thing, too, and I think this is always something that fascinates me about Christmas, especially Christmas horror movies now, is whenever items of note and like Christmas iconography was being created, you're just constantly looking at everything and be like, all of this stuff is dangerous. All of this could be used to kill people. It's a pagan
holiday, right? Like we kind of co-opted this shit, and you're like, the pagan peeks through a lot when you just kind of really start thinking about things. You're like, But I think it is, because now it's become, Christmas is this very fucking saccharine, sugar-coated corporate entity, right? And there's nothing more fun to attack than false, genuine, feelings, right? Like this sugar-coated money grab horse shit, where we all got to go fucking beat each other up on Black Friday so we can get gifts and all this shit. I think Christmas is there's not even another holiday that comes close to approaching the best holiday to attack in a horror movie. Christmas is the king by miles, right? And I think it's that cold, dark exterior plays so perfect for a horror movie setting.
Sure. I think just the inversion is what probably makes Christmas a great. I mean, I think Halloween's much better, but I think Christmas.
Halloween, you expect it. Christmas, it's degrading.
Well,
something.
no, Halloween. There is. I think what makes Halloween a better one is that you expect it, but you also don't for some reason because everything's so wacky. Like, you're like, well, it could happen anywhere, but it could happen anywhere, so I guess it doesn't matter. Like, for Christmas, there's no way you expect anyone to do something like this. And you're just like, it'll be all right. I guess
See, that's
Christmas,
what I mean. I think Christmas horror movies are better than Halloween night horror movies. I think if you stacked them up, I think it's a better place for horror to happen.
I don't agree with that, but I think Black Christmas particularly is head and shoulders above.
Black Christmas fucking rules. So let's go here. This killer, the Moaner,
yeah,
is absolutely fucking horrifying. This is one of the truly most scary horror movie like psychopaths in movie history, and it gets overlooked so fucking often. We start the movie with, again, like I said, that standing in the cold dark, see this little beacon of like a party, and all these women are gathered in their sorority, and their house has Christmas lights, right? We see all these things, these inviting things. Then all of a sudden, we start moving in POV, and we're fucking breathing heavy. We're climbing into the house. We're sneaking through the house. We're getting on the fucking stairs. We do these cutaways to the actual sorority party. And it's insane. It's this beautiful, you are in this bubble, this warm bubble of fucking drinks and gifts and merriment. And evil, when you're not looking, creeps in through the attic and comes right to the precipice of where you will see it. But you don't, because of the frivolity, right? The season becomes a shield the killer hides behind. The invasion of the safe, happy group setting where he's so fucking close to them and no one can tell. When he kills the first girl, we can't tell because we're laughing at the gift we gave the house mother. These things fucking get right to the core of your soul.
Yeah. I mean, that's... the juxtaposition so often in this movie between like what Christmas is versus what's happening in the movie is, I mean, that is what makes it terrifying.
Is barely a part of this movie. It's like a little bit of set dressing.
I mean, I think the other thing I like about Christmas use in this movie is the things that make us happy and are joyful. Like the scene where the carolers are singing "Drowning Out a Murder." I'm like, dude. That is like, that to me, I was like, that is fucking key.
Such a good point to bring up that scene. That's the key, is that the Christmas is there, but we're not focusing on it like Krampus, where everything is a Christmas gag. What it is Christmas is reminding us of things we know and drawing it in our mind where we're like, oh yeah, that happened in my house. I could have been getting fucking murdered when those little bastards are making me come out to say. But that's what it is. It's just there, right? It's the father coming to get his kid. The girls leaving and no one, wondering where they are because they're going on ski trips and to visit family. The father who hasn't seen his daughter in a while and is coming to her room and is like, why is there buttholes all over her room? I don't like this. But meanwhile, we know she's fucking dead, right? Like there are elements of the season that are so universal, but we don't have to waste time like Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. It's just fucking there. Yeah. And it's fucking horrifying.
I think the other thing about this killer that I think is so fucking impressive, and again, like I'm not saying that it wasn't something that maybe had been done already, but I think Bob Clark does it to such a degree that you're like, holy shit. Is that POV cam is no joke, man. Oh my God.
This movie does not get the credit. A lot of those 80s slasher classics, even Halloween came after this. A lot of them went POV, and it feels like this was one of the first and best uses of that to scare the fucking shit out of us.
It scared the shit out of me.
We didn't see Norman Bates' POV a lot in Psycho, right? There's a detachedness to it. This one, we are in the fucking eyes and the wild headspace of a killer, watching people celebrate and imagining how we will harm them. It's a great technique that became so omnipresent. And again, this was one of the first and definitely one of the scariest uses of that technique.
Yeah. It was, it legitimately, again, creeps me out the entire time. I was actually scared watching this movie. Like, I do not get scared watching these movies, and I'm in a hotel room for work right now, and I was actually scared because watching this by myself, like, oh my god, something bad's going to happen.
You wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, was that my sleep apnea or the moaner? I can't tell.
Yeah.
And you're fucking
horrified. No, I need my CPAP. CPAP. CPAP.
That's another great killer cover when you're getting strangled and your wife's like, fucking CPAP machines are loud, and you're like, god damn it. Neither here nor there. Let's talk about another device. We have
to make the first geriatric serial killer who uses all those things. Turn the CPAP down.
What if I fart in the CPAP and then kill him while he struggles? No, that's not as scary as what this movie's doing. Let's talk about the phone calls, right? So the only name we get for this guy in the whole movie is the moaner. He calls and he's pretty much like, let me see your puss. Let me see your beefer. Oh, do you want my hot saucy? It starts off as kind of like a gross, breathing, masturbatory sound.
Yeah.
That's horrifying. There's a moment where they're listening to the call and it just cuts to all the women's faces. Right? It is doing this reminder to us about how, not just in horror movies, but women have to suffer these things all the time, right? That women are looked at as prey for these kind of deranged people, right? These fucking sex-craven maniacs. I thought that scene was really effective. I will say, when the calls fucking turn to more of the, Billy, why did you disappoint me? Mommy! It's like a pre-long legs, right? When it gets to that, and you're like, oh my god, not only did this guy have like fucking, pink pussy fantasies, he also has like some weird shit he has not worked through with his mom. And when it switches from that, kind of gross, crass sex calls to the, oh my god, this guy is fucking truly unhinged. And we've seen him knock some people off at this point. This movie takes such a darker and more horrifying turn.
I mean, it is just so, I think this movie does such a good job of like hyping up the creep factor. Like, those phone calls are not cool at all. Like, it's not even like,
yeah, no shit.
There's like a level of like, it's not even like, cause sometimes it's just like, oh, cool. That's a good creeper call. This is like, ew. It's not even a good, like in terms of horror film stuff, like it doesn't scare. It's just so creepy. You're like, ew, who is
but
this
it's just
person
another
with this
way
phone
of the
call?
Serial killer injecting his bullshit into their bubble. I think that's what it is he's like polluting the aquarium of their life to where there's just this base level of them accepting unsafeness that is really fucking brutal when you take a step back. You're like, every moment of their life in this house, like they're to the point they're just like, it's the guy again. And you're like, how many fucking times have they had to suffer this? It's that constant infection of their environment, right?
Yeah.
That is then punctuated by, like, when we go to POV and he's behind the fucking, like, dry cleaning bag. And he strangles that girl. It's fucking brutal. One of the motifs that this killer has throughout the movie is we go up to the attic. Because, when people are missing, no one's like, hey, we should check every room in the house. We just don't fuck. Like, this could have been solved, like, lickety-split. But no one checked. They go up to the fucking alcoholic house mom goes up to look for the cat, not for the missing girl.
Cool house momming lady.
He's got this lady in a rocking chair with that bag. She's right in the fucking window, right? It's almost daring someone to see it. At the end of the film, we start cutting out and see her face in the window that anyone could have seen, but they don't because, again, the facade of this sorority house covered in lights, nothing bad could happen in there, even though bad things have been happening the whole movie. The scenes where the girl in the bag upstairs is horrifying on its own right. Where it really becomes like an all-time horror classic to me is after he kills the mom too with the hook, right? The house mom. When we cut back up to that room and they're just up there like other creepy storage items, and he starts like freaking out and breaking shit. And he's like rocking her and almost like trying to talk to her as if the bag is, obscuring the face enough that he's like yelling at this mother or whoever this other character is he's yelling at on the phone. It's so cringy. You fucking are. You so just want the scene to end and get back to the like, let's walk around. It's so unsettling to be in closed spaces with this creature in his headspace.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting about that too is like it's unconventional slasher in that regard, very much so. And I think that's what that is what really creeped me out this time. It's not like what you thought. It's not at all what you thought it was going to be. It's very much in this vein of like, oh, well, it's actually a completely different fucking movie, and here it is. Like,
I think it's that subtlety that really like stuck with me this time that I didn't appreciate when I was younger.
Agreed.
Like those subtle techniques.
It's not a conventional slasher thing.
Right, because everyone goes back to Michael Myers in 78, right? Like, he set the tone for slashers. That movie's doing a lot of the riffs this one does. Like, what is one of the most iconic Michael Myers scenes? It's not the murders. Again, another mostly bloodless movie. It's not the murders. It's the scene when he stabs that dude in the kitchen, and he pauses and looks at his work and tilts his head. Those are the moments of killers that really stick out to me that, oh my God, there's something different in them. I think we can all imagine losing our shit and killing someone, right? We've all probably had that fantasy, right? It's that moment of like the artistship, like the stopping and admiring your craft. And this one does that as good as any horror movie I've seen that's sitting in it, right? Maybe Henry. Henry's probably my favorite serial killer portrayal. But this movie just makes us sit with this really, and it's not even like just a deranged man, a fucking hurt man, like a psychologically damaged human being. When he's like looking at those two corpses and interacting with them and then breaking shit, we don't see the like, Michael Myers, filling his little stiffy in his mechanic suit. Like, wow, look what I did. He is almost appalled at his actions, that it's not fixing anything. He's not getting the catharsis. That, to me, is much more unnerving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question that I think the way that this killer is presented is pretty unconventional. Like, even for modern times, I think it's a little unconventional.
Yeah.
Like, it's
especially at 74. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on 74, no one's really, the best we've gotten at this point is like probably Psycho, like that's probably as far as we've gotten.
Norman Bates.
With, like,
I would say that's
Norman
the best serial killer movie. Maybe you can go all the way back to M is the closest, I think, to this.
Sure. Yeah,
that like Peter Lorre not getting relief.
That's actually a good point.
I'd say Peter Lorre. And that was in like the 30s.
But I think this is like this is the thing for me though, is M and Norman Bates for that matter. Like Peter Lorre and Norman Bates both are revealed. I think that is truly like
That's a great point. Yes.
That's really kind of like the X factor here is that and I remember I finished the movie last night and I was like, "Oh, I'm a little frustrated." And then I woke up this morning and was like, never mind. That was so terrifying in so many different ways because I don't know who it was.
Because even Norman Bates and M, they go to a lot of lengths to show us the humanity in the killer. And again, serial killers were not the prevalent pillars of pop culture they are now. They show us these human things and like, oh, isn't it tragic that this nice boy just has a child murdering fetish or a blondes in showers fetish? Unbelievable. Wow. And it's like, yeah, that's bad. Like, we all agree it's bad, but they try to humanize it. This one, the moments of humanization are, again, the howling in rage or screaming at himself in his mother's voice. It's not that fucking human to us. It's still fucking horrifying. And the idea that at the end, the closest we come to seeing is that fucking horrifying red eye through the crack shot as he's like, oh, mommy, and he's like having a dialogue with himself as if he's not in the room where he's about to commit the act. He's awful, right? But to your point, the unnaming of him is such an interesting choice because we do her boyfriend is equally villainous in the movie almost, right? He's a your body, my choice guy, like a real, like ahead of his time kind of man, apparently.
Real ahead of his time misogynist. It was really cool.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just a sweaty, bad pianist. I'm going to take it out on you and this baby for sure when I make you have it. Right?
That's why he wound up. That's why he wound up an astronaut. So it's fine.
Yeah, and we watched the police just do their like, this is perfectly my hunch, so I'm just going to accept it with no facts. They leave the house and leave this man in there. Okay, cool. When she sees her boyfriend come, She thinks it could be him and is holding this thing. We cut away. We come back, and they're both fucking knocked out or dead, right? He's like on her lap. And they're like, open and close case. The pianist did it. And you're like, well, I see crystal clear the bridge you built to get there. I'm not going to play coy and say it's bad police work to assume this guy was not good. I'm just going to say, like, it makes sense how you got there.
Yeah.
Maybe, again, you had all these police in the house. Still, at the end of the movie, no one had still found the two corpses in the attic. That man is going to keep looking for his daughter at least the day after Christmas, because they had not found. They found the body in the woods of a child, a high school child, which may or may not even be related. This town could just be an apocalypse of horrible guys. And then they never find the two upstairs.
Oh, it is a college
campus. The only two dead bodies they know about by the end of the movie are the girl in the park and the pianist. That's it. We leave the movie. We pan out as there's another fucking phone call that's yet to be answered from this fucking moaner, and we see the girl with the plastic bag on her face crystal clear in the upstairs window as a cop is just downstairs standing at the door taping things off, not having solved a thing. The evil remains on. Again, not to always take it back to Halloween, but Halloween, one of the famous things was that Michael Myers isn't dead at the end, and Donald Pleasance has this look of like, I fucking knew it. You can't kill evil. You can slow it down. You can't defeat evil. And Michael Myers breathes as we go house to house to house. This movie did it first, and I would argue equally as good.
Yeah, I mean, the Keystone Cops thing aside, again, well, this movie is so grounded in a lot of ways. I guess this is the one you give, is that the cops are total shitbags. Like, maybe it's because
like
it's a college
small
campus.
Town campus cops. They're just
That's
not
what it is, campus
fucking
cops.
figuring everything out efficiently.
Well, I mean,
maybe they have
I don't
a
know
guy
about you.
outside of the house to like protect them. It's like, hey, maybe Fats McGillicuddy should go sit on the couch. You know what I mean?
Remember? Well,
maybe he'll do better if he's near the victims. Like, I don't know.
Do you remember? I mean, you remember? I mean, college campus cops were fine, but they also were like, "Cool, I know you're all partying, so if everyone can just like, who's not of age, leave, and then come back 20 minutes later."
There's a mercy in them that does not exist in other cops. I feel. Like, I don't want to do paperwork. You don't want to get suspended. Just get the fuck out. I don't want to do 60 reports.
The quality of mercy of campus cops is, I don't feel like doing paperwork. You guys just leave. Take whatever you want with you. Just get out of here.
From my college experience, when they do big stuff, they do it very badly, too. We had some horror stories of campus cops back then. Neither here nor there. Another absolute classic horror genre moment, right? That this movie did first. 5 years, in fact, I believe, before When a Stranger Calls, one of the most famous openings in horror.
Yeah.
The calls are coming from in the house. That is like one of the best 20-minute horror short films ever made. The rest of the movie, not so much. But that opening is fucking insane. It's a classic. I heard about. My mom was like, "You've never seen that?" She couldn't wait to share that with me when she found out I was getting into movies, right? This did it first.
I don't know about you. I was in the house. This was the part okay. It was a very creepy moment. And it was, again, the first time in a long time I've been like a little creeped out by a movie when he says the calls are coming from inside the house.
And it's crazy because we already know that, but we're still fucking scared.
But I also could not stop laughing as the cop was like, "Don't ask me any questions. Just shut up and don't ask me any questions."
He's like, "Nash, you absolute cock." Right? They're just like making fun of this ginger like desk cop the whole movie. He writes down that their phone number is like Fellatio 69 or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a new extension." They're like, "You fucking rube." They are constantly disrespecting him, yelling at him. The kid from the hockey team comes in and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna trust him over the other fellow cop. We'll just keep shitting on him." And he calls it. He's like, "Nash, I know you're an absolute box of rocks. Don't you dare fuck this up. Call her
any questions
and tell her to get out of the house, but don't announce any of it." He goes, "Got it, Sarge." And I was like, one, why don't you fucking call anyone else to do that? Why don't you radio Fats McGillicuddy, who's sitting in front of the house, and just tell him to walk in the house, right? Gun drawn. So John Saxon is not off the hook either. John Saxon is also a pretty bad cop. He literally is like, This would be like on the, Michael Jordan Bulls. It's like, you know what, Phil Jackson, this is unconventional. What if you come in and try to get the Space Jam dunk for the win? It's like, you were a bench warmer for the Knicks back in the day. This is your call. We're going to trust you, Phil Jackson, to do this instead of all of the All-Stars on the team. That's what he did. He called Nash, and Nash was like, got it. Hey, lady, leave your house now. Don't ask me no questions. She's like, that's a weird request. And he goes, he's in the house. He's in the... It's like, you made it like 1 minute and 30 seconds before you fucking ruined everything, Nash. That's on you.
That's on you, Nash. That's on you.
Yeah. I don't know if I am an ACAB kind of guy. All cops are bad cops. I am definitely, in cab. Nash is a bad cop. All Nashes are bad cops in this movie. He's the worst. I mean, God, if you ranked him up there with, like, worst movie cops, he's got to be right at the top of the list. Like, doesn't do one thing right the whole movie.
Yeah, he's terrible.
John Saxon, not any better, though.
I don't think any of the cops
needs to know you're as weak as your weakest link in the chain.
I don't
and
think
he's
any
just
of the police are particularly good in this movie. I think they're just guys. We're just trying to get through the holidays. What do you want to do?
John Saxon just has those beautiful pencil-helped eyebrows. That might be unfair. I don't know if he uses pencils on his eyebrows. I'm just assuming, but they look good for how old and white everything else is. Neither here nor there. So let's go back to the ending. The idea that this is unsolved, that we don't find the killer, I actually adore that. Again, it is this reminder, because I think the movie's using the tools of the movie to remind us evil is closer than you think. Evil can exist anywhere. Evil can strike when you least expect it. Again, we're polluting the aquarium of this house to where the phone calls. There's always something evil and nefarious close. Right. I think if at the end it had just been like the fucking boyfriend or whatever, it loses some of that magic. In fact, one of the most Christmassy themes of this is just a stranger coming into your house on Christmas night to bring gifts that we hope are good gifts, right? There's like an evil Santa aspect to this guy, a magic to him at the end of the film. This very grounded killer that just, these cracks in society, these things we accept, these safe havens that we think the suburbs and college campuses are, is a perfect place for these things to get in and breed and fester. I think it's one of the best choices a horror movie's ever made to just leave us on that fucking ringing phone. It's so much more haunting.
I agree. I think it's an amazing ending for a horror movie. And we don't get those kinds a lot.
It is, and that's the thing. This movie is so exceptional in its horror delivery, right? We have a ton of great characters in it. John Saxon's great. You know, the other college kids are okay. I like the 40-year-old frat girl boyfriend who's just playing Santa, and he's like, fuck them kids, right? And I'm like, why is Gene Shalit dressed as Santa Claus yelling at kids? Okay, whatever. That's just a thing we're going to do. Like, kids look a lot older back then than they do now. Yeah, we got John Saxon. We got a bunch of other kids running around. I thought the father of the missing girl was just fucking devastatingly sad. But again, I think the performance...
like old Bud Cort?
He looked exactly like old Bud Cort. I fucking agree. Of Harold and Maude fame. He looks like Bud Cort in Life Aquatic. He looks exactly the same, but skinnier.
That's exactly what he looks like. Absolutely.
That's exactly. But he's so heartbreaking in that movie, right? This guy who just is holding hope alive, and we're hoping. The house mom who's just got booze hidden everywhere. I was like, damn, she's just slamming fucking shitter booze, dude. She is like living prison rules in this house.
She's just crushing ripples all over the house, man. It is weird.
And she gets fucking caught with a hook in the face. I was like, I think she got a raw deal. Like, I feel bad for this lady. The character I think is most associated with this movie is Margot Kidder, right? Yeah. Margot Kidder is kind of a fireball in the middle of this movie. This kind of overly drinking, rich girl who's angry at everyone. There's a real charm to Margot Kidder in this movie, right? I thought the scene where she's giving the kid the fucking champagne as the dad watches on, he's like, what the hell kind of sorority is my daughter in? Was really fucking fun, man. I know Margot Kidder went on and had a lot of struggles later. I love kind of seeing her in this movie, man. I think she's really fucking fun in this movie.
I think she's great.
Like Lois Lane is her role, but this one is really fun. She really
pretty good. This is it's there. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So I think that's to wrap this up, Alex. Why is this movie inspiring to us at Misfit Parade? I fucking adore this movie, but how do we summarize that?
Oh, I mean, it's a movie that breaks from. It's a movie that takes. This is the thing that we do really well, I think, is a convention and the subversion of convention. I think is a really important thing here for Black Christmas, and I think that's something Misfit Parade does a lot. I mean,
yeah, I think that's a great way to say it. I think
that's how I'd
finding
go with it.
Rooted realities and then finding the ways in which things that we accept are absurd and become launching pads for horror or comedy or any of those things. I think that's what all the best stories do, right? Here's a base reality, and we all accept these things even though it's insane. Some of the things that are just so rooted in our lives, it's crazy that we just are like, yeah, let's not change anything. That's just how it's always been. And using those for horror and comedy and those explosive, terrifying moments. I think this one, too, the other thing I was so inspired by watching it, the fucking crackling, dark evilness at the core of this. Like, it is really one of those, you feel like you're watching an unsafe documentation of actual horror and trauma. It's fucking unnerving. We actually forgot. Let's get to this. What was the most messed up moment in the movie to you?
That is definitely the first phone call. I don't know why. That is just like so. It was so off-putting when you hear
and
it.
the cutting to their faces, so we see how they're reacting,
then,
even though this has happened a lot.
Like and it's like kind of like it starts off kind of funny and a little. You're like, oh, what a dork, and then you're like, this is a little more sinister, and then it ends with, I'm going to kill you, and you're like, not great. That is not great right there.
The sexual pestness of it is horrible, but now you're like going to kill them, and we've already seen a dead body. Yeah, this is not good. This is fucking brutally horrifying. To me, the most messed up movie in this moment, easily to me, is when he's in the attic playing with the dead bodies and screaming and breaking shit. I think showing that fully damaged brokenness at the core of this killer, that he's doing these things, but not in a playful, fun way, in a this'll be the dead body that makes mommy love me, and then it's not, and he's still in pain and agony, makes him such a fucking ghoulish monster up in that attic that it makes everything after, right? The POVs, the little bleeding red eye looking through the wall, it makes him so much scarier to me to have that emotional foundation to stand upon. I don't know, man. This fucking movie really has it all. I think it really might be the most underappreciated horror movie ever, right? Like, this movie created conventions that thousands of 80s movies stood on the shoulder of and did less well.
I think it's a progenitor of a lot of 80s slasher movies.
We go back to Halloween, but man, this movie was before Halloween and did a lot of the shit that Halloween did, and then a lot of the shit that Halloween did was replicated ad nauseum. This movie was there first, and I think this movie's way more actually unnerving to me than Halloween. Halloween is fucking great and iconic, and I would never say a bad word about it. This one gets in the emotional trenches way deeper than Halloween ever manages.
Agreed.
That's it for Black Christmas. We hope you're enjoying the Messed Up Movies podcast. Please, if you would be so kind, give us a gift this holiday season. Go to the Messed Up Movies podcast Patreon page. Great place to support the show. We have tons of awesome stuff over there. We're always working to add new cool things that'll make that fun and awesome for you guys. Come in as a Kurgan tier level member and get all of the good miniseries, all the good stuff we've got. We have a blast over there. We'd love for you to do that. Go to YouTube, subscribe to Misfit Parade. You can see our short film, Sugar Tits. You can watch our Christmas short horror film, Guide My Sleigh. We got a bunch of those over there. We'd love to see you. Video versions of the pods. If you go to Instagram, TikTok, all that shit, we have shorts everywhere, reels, TikToks, whatever. That's a great way to share with your friends what we're doing. Make sure you leave 5-star ratings and reviews. And as always, guys, as we come to the end of the year, we would like to wish you the very best. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all the good shit, man. I hope you are surrounded by your friends and family watching this horrifying assault on a sorority house to really understand the Christmas spirit.